Hello, everyone. How you doing? And welcome back to Skye and Evan in the morning. And today we're going to be talking about a 1998 sci-fi classic called Dark City. Evan, that was your recommendation. It is, I think I mentioned to you, reminded me a lot of The Matrix. I don't know about you, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I mentioned this when I recommended it, that I had heard that it felt like a feature-length version of the first, maybe third or so of The Matrix.
Hmm.
Everything before the red pill, blue pill scene, the whole questioning reality, mystery men following people around, all these people with these seemingly superpowers. What's the deal with that? And it's true. It does. Apparently, they used sets from this film for shooting The Matrix, so it's not just a surface level thing. But it is hilarious that this was '98 and Matrix was '99, because they do feel almost like cousins of films in a way. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
What?
it gives the same vibes, and I think the story is very similar. And I saw some people comparing this to both The Matrix and Fight Club in the sense of like the whole idea of this like escaping from the expected like American way of society and everything, the very conformist idea, and then finding out your life is more than what has been like given to you. Um,
It's funny.
finding
Fight
your
Club was
uniqueness in it.
1999. As
Yeah.
Yeah, not that was 1999 as well. There's a lot of those types of movies in '99. So Um, yeah, I what I liked about this film is that it did feel like the world was more the point rather than the main character, comparing it to The Matrix. Like, there's nothing necessarily wrong. I mean, I love The Matrix. It's just a different type of movie, but thematically and in terms of the ideas that this movie's going for, it feels like it's built around the idea of memory and how we value ourselves, how much our memories make us who we are, and
Yeah.
it's it's just a fascinating mystery that's like some parts horror, some parts sci-fi, and a lot of classic film noir actually. And
The
it's
whole
it's a very
mystery
unique film.
thing, because I saw some people describing it as a mystery. I was a little confused, I guess, because I did not think the film was like a mystery. Like, I thought it was pretty straightforward what the answer was. Like, I wasn't shocked or anything. I don't know.
Do you
Like,
mean like what the city was, or do you mean of like if Murdoch killed someone? I feel like that's more the mystery of the film, if you will.
no, the whole Murdoch thing for me is just like, once you realize that people just they have their memories implanted, or just like, so it doesn't even matter if he killed someone or not, which is kind of the point.
Yeah.
So like I wasn't even like that. I don't know. I didn't find that aspect of it mysterious. The city, I guess, more so just the fact that it is like basically just like a city sitting in space. It was very interesting. There's a Doctor Who episode that's similar to it. Um, but that aspect was a little more expected, I guess. Even though still the whole idea of y- just the way the city works and everything being run by those like bald pale freaks was very similar to the Matrix. So I wasn't like that shocked because I was like, yeah, it's just doing the Matrix. It every time I say this, it doesn't mean they're actually copying the Matrix. The Matrix came out a year after this. I'm just saying that's
Yeah,
it's
if anything, that ripped that off, and The
yeah.
Matrix is inspired by a ton of different things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Um I don't know. It's just I didn't find it all that mysterious. Like I liked the film. I don't
Well,
think as much as you did,
uh,
but I liked it, and I just didn't, because like everyone says it's like a really good mystery. I'm like, I none of the mystery parts really felt all that like engaging to me, because I didn't think it was like mysterious. I thought it was pretty straightforward. I don't know.
well, this so do you know about the difference between the theatrical and director's cut? You and I were talking about this without knowing much about
Yeah.
this movie, but
I saw
I
some people
actually
on
know the
Letterbox
deal.
said that there's like a narration at the start of the film that kind of like gives
Yes.
away the whole plot or something?
Well, it's Blade Runner all over again. You know, the final cut, like one of the biggest differences between the Blade Runner cuts is getting rid of narration that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people say just kind of ruins the movie, ruins interpretations and is too hand-holdy. It can happen with movies. Movies sometimes rely on narration when they shouldn't, when they should trust the filmmaker. But I I watched it last night. I like the opening, and it's true. It does just kind of spell everything out. Because I love the opening in the director's cut. It's basically just this shot in space. It's like
Yeah.
what looks like nebula, a bunch of cloud or a bunch of stars, and it's just space. And you're like, huh. And then you see the city eventually. It's like, what's that all about? Like maybe it's just a unique shot to set things up, but and then, you know, what's the deal with the main character? Who are these mystery men that are following? It without the narration, that opening feels a lot more like the original Matrix, where you don't know what the deal is with the agents until later on in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know there's something like, you know, semi supernatural about them because they sure as hell aren't normal people, but the characters in the hats and the same getup. I actually don't know their name. I don't know. They're always just called like there's like Mr. Hand, there's Mr. Book and the like is the main character. I don't know what they're called though in the story. Hold on.
Not sure either.
I looked that up while my computer was crashing out. They're called the Strangers. Apparently, that's
Mm-hmm.
what the beings are referred to. I don't think they're ever called that in the actual movie, but there there's this little area that they always meet in that I love. I love how that is shot. The green lighting and how everyone just stands, that everyone is wearing just the same uniform. It,
Yeah.
it reminded me a little bit of Dune. Um,
You know what? You're
but
right.
those are so unique and they always wait until midnight and they can freeze the entire city and you later realize that they're changing the layout of it as well. So interesting stuff with how they're introduced.
Yeah.
You were saying that you weren't as much of a fan of this movie, though. Is that
I thought
right?
it was kind of like fine. Like I don't know. I love The Matrix, like all four films. So maybe I'm just biased, but I just think those are like a better version of this. Um I don't know. I thought like I don't know. I I find Neo like a more interesting character than John
I
Murdoch. I don't know.
I certainly believe that, and I wasn't. I mean, just in general, the characters in this film, I was not as drawn to.
Mhm.
Kiefer Sutherland as the Doctor, I would say, is probably one of the more interesting people. Like for one, he's kind of like a traitorous human, if you will. Like not to mention he's under the stranger's thumb. But, you know, Jennifer Connelly's character, she's pretty flat and
Yeah. I
uninteresting.
mean
They
it's
give
part of the point, right? Which is kind of because it's the whole thing of like she has no real identity because she just keeps, being changed like everyone else. Their memory swapped and everything. So you can't really characterize her because it's not actually part of her. So it falls a little flat in that. Like that's I guess the difference with the Matrix is that they still remember all their lives inside the Matrix. They are still people who made decisions in there, and then the characters outside are characters who have been fighting this war for a long time, so they have like history to inform their characters. And in this film, it's just kind of like other than John Murdoch and the Dr. Schreiber, I think. Like they're all
name's a little hard
pretty,
to pronounce.
yeah, like they're all basically like non-characters. They're kind of like just devices for the plot. Even William
Yeah.
Hurt's character, which to be fair, I did like him. I thought it was entertaining, but he wasn't
Yeah.
like that deep. It was just like, yeah, it's the cop. I don't know. It was very
Well,
formulaic.
I mean, probably the most interesting scene with him is the accordion, where
Mm.
he's mentioning that was given to him by I believe his grandmother, if
I
I'm not
think his
mistaken, his mother or
mom.
his
I
grandmother.
think it was his mom
Yeah,
that had recently died.
yeah, and he said that he couldn't remember when she'd given it to him, and it was like even though it was important, and he's seen like holding it when he's like writing his notes,
Hmm.
but it matters to him, but he can't remember it,
Yeah.
and There's
And then
also that detective character that that kind of loses his mind,
oh
and
yeah,
he's
yeah,
talking
because
about
he woke up. That was an interesting character that I liked, and he kills
yeah,
himself because he says it's the only way of being free, which is again another very like Matrix idea, which I like. I guess comparatively, it would be like kind of like Cipher, I guess. Though Cipher's obviously more, you know, he betrays the gang,
villainous.
but yeah,
Yeah, he's someone who just kind of realizes what's going on, but can't cope with the situation.
yeah,
And
exactly,
thematically, with the Matrix, there's also some element of that where people are a little too plugged into the system, plugged into the world where they can't see what's going on, even though
yeah,
it should be obvious. Like a detail that's not really mentioned all that much until like later on in the story is that it's never day. It's
yeah.
called Dark City, but really this movie day just doesn't happen. You don't
Well,
really question
that
it
was a
until
cool
later
moment
on.
later where he's like, "Oh, the clock says 1. Is that clock right? Of course, it's always right. So it's 1 a.m. or p.m. What do you think? Look outside." He's like, "How did I lose the day?" He's like, "I don't know. Time must have just passed. You're just confused." Like that moment was like really cool because you're like, "Oh, you're right. It has been night the entire time." So that was a cool like reveal. That moment I really did enjoy, and it is part of the whole thing that the system is just like super easy to see through, but everyone's just like too much going through the motions, which is the whole point of like criticizing the American way of life, basically. Which yeah, I appreciate, very similar to the Matrix, of like the very obvious things going wrong that nobody questions because why should you? You're just going through the motions. Like those aspects, those like more philosophical things like that, I find really interesting. The whole, like, I think the characters, from the character standpoint, I find it less interesting than the Matrix.
Yeah, it's definitely not as character-led of a film. It also reminded me a bit of films like Eraserhead because it does feel very dream-y. Like even just the basic fact that it all takes place during night and there's people that just kind of appear, doors appear out of nowhere. I mean, the the whole notion of tuning, I did not know that that was a thing. I did not know that the main character essentially has superpowers, the ability to just manipulate the world and what the wider implications of that were. It made for some interesting fight scenes between him. There's that
Mm-hmm.
one on the billboard that was really memorable. I would not classify this as an action movie, but it does have pretty memorable bursts of action every now and again. So
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that I was like, okay, this is not the Matrix. We're not gonna have like long, like 10-minute long kung fu fight scenes. But the action was pretty cool. I did like the when he uses the billboard like hand to like slice through the head of one of the strangers, and then it just a bunch of blood comes out, and it looks like jelly because it's like part of the brain was cut off. It was like, geez, that's nasty. So I did like that.
yeah, good use of CGI as well when the city changes. And something else that I was reminded of, I'm sure the Batman took a bunch of different inspirations with the cinematography and with the set design, but I got a huge Gotham vibe from that movie in this film with how the city is shot. You know, it that a lot of Gotham interpretations have it that way, that there's almost no day. Like Batman the Animated Series is a ton of just night
Mm.
scenes where even when it's day, it almost feels like it's night. And yeah, I do feel like the Batman may have taken a page out of this movie as well as a bunch of other
Oh yeah, no,
movies.
I think
Even
this film, so much of it, I was like, this feels just like Batman. Like the vibe was so Batman, and I mean, even you said like very noir, like very much feels like a Batman film. Um, Even though like nothing about the main character is Batman, it feels, it has that vibe of Gotham City. So I did see that too.
yeah, um, I I will say, like you definitely seemed a little more underwhelmed than I did. I was engaged with the story, but I do feel like it's not as character focused, which is frustrating. Some of the characters stand out more than others, but it's more about the world and the themes. And I find stories that go for that go for, an interesting plot or unraveling details as the film goes along. If you don't have the characters to really back that up or make those emotional highs stick, then some things can fall flat. And for me, the ending did feel a bit on the underwhelming side because it's kind of, they basically the main character just kind of uses his superpowers to win. And
Hmm.
it's like, well, hasn't he learned and hasn't he grown? I'm like, yeah, but it does just kind of end with a giant CGI fight. And, the movie is very anti-Matrix for most of its runtime, but that ending felt very much like the Matrix of just, Neo just, using his powers, just changing the world and doing whatever he will. And, that's the other thing is that connects this to the Matrix is the main character has the power to literally change the world. He puts water around the city and he creates a sun, so
Yeah. And
he
it
can
goes
do all
more
these
over the
amazing
top
things.
here, and I mean, if you compare it to like Matrix 3, which
Yeah,
is like the intended ending, it's very, very different because he is the most powerless at that point. He even has to sacrifice himself to defeat Agent Smith. So very different. Like in this film, they just go full out. Like yes, he is God.
pretty much. And I don't think it's ever really explained either, like what the deal with him specifically
I think
is,
they
other
just say
than
like they
maybe,
kept testing on humans, and one of them just kind of like evolved. Like I don't know. I don't think you
yeah.
need much more of an explanation. I think it's fine. Um, and it does make sense. Like someone who just like kind of realizes this and has the ability to notice all the issues in the world can I don't know, break out of it. Like he just happened to be awake. I also think it's the whole thing of like maybe other characters can do it too, but he was the only one who noticed because he happened to wake up when he was being injected, and so he was able to see the world as it is without the memories impacting how he acts. So it's probably like the
Well,
intended reading, I guess, that anyone could have been him. It just happened to be him.
the detective character as well seems to be similar to him. He takes his own life later in the story, but it seems like he also could see what was going on. So there's definitely an implication other people might have what he has. So
Yeah.
yeah. I'm I'm glad I watched this. I can definitely feel how influential it is, and I'm glad I didn't spoil the movie. I would recommend I mean, obviously we've spoiled a bunch here, but to anybody that watches this movie, definitely go in with no spoilers because it's the best way to watch it. I knew damn near nothing other than the deal, like just how the strangers looked. I knew the title, and I heard that it was somewhat of a murder mystery, but I did not know that this was just a city in space, basically. And I some of the wider themes about memory and who we are as people and how interchangeable our lives can feel like that's probably the best part of this film in terms of its execution, other than its world building and basic presentation.
Yeah. I would agree. I would recommend the film too. It is good, quite good. It's not as captivating as The Matrix, but that's like a high bar. The Matrix is like an all-time great, so not fair to compare it.
I am sure there's a pretty solid debate in that category because these films are too similar to
Yeah,
not
no, I'm
directly
sure.
compare them, but I've seen The Matrix way more, but I definitely prefer that film.
Yeah,
Even just in the fact of like how much more entertaining it is and the characters.
yeah.
I do think the characters are better, it's a better cast.
Better
Different movies trying to
romance.
do different things, but yeah. I Still very glad to have watched this movie, and it's pretty captivating, but could have been a little more captivating in the character regard. So
Yeah, agreed. All right, I suppose it is my time to recommend something.
that it is, Skye. What do you got?
I'm gonna recommend a movie based on a Stephen King book that apparently he wrote the script for. Okay, just realized that. It's Pet Cemetery, a movie I've always wanted to watch.
Oh, the 90s one?
The 1989 one.
Wow. I haven't read the book and I've wanted to because I've heard that book is fucking devastating and really disturbing and interesting. I don't know how much you know about it, but yeah. I King's always interesting when he gets adapted because
Yeah.
you gotta change details. Some,
Well, what's
I mean,
interesting
The Shining
apparently
and the
is that
like.
he wrote the script for this film, so that's fascinating to me.
Well, that's the other thing about Stephen King is that his opinions on movies can be bad. Like
Yeah.
he's a great author, but not necessarily a great screenwriter. I don't know. We'll see. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
That's
curious. I've always wanted
Cemetery.
to watch
Wow.
this film. I started recently reading Carrie after I watched the film. I need to get back to reading more. And I enjoy reading Stephen King's books, but I don't. I feel like the way that I experience his stories is just through the adaptations of his work. So seeing one where he wrote, is probably like the closest we're gonna get to how his vision. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I need to the probably the next Stephen King that was on my list was The Long Walk because they adapted that recently and I
Oh,
still
so
haven't
good.
seen it or and I don't know that much about it. I don't know how it ends. I don't know what the resolution is, but I have heard it's really good and yeah, Pet Cemetery was another, so I gotta read that at some point. All right.
Yeah, yeah. The Long Walk
Wow.
is really good. But yeah, Pet Cemetery for next week. All right. We will catch you next time then, folks. Thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, um, all the things, and we'll catch you next week for Pet Cemetery. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.